She woke up with restraints on her wrists and a voice in her ear. "I will make you my wife." The man standing over her bed was Korea's most feared Mafia boss, and he had murdered her father in cold blood. Her stepmother had drugged and shipped her to Seoul like cargo to pay off their debts. Now he was giving her a choice: marry him willingly, or watch everyone she loved die the same way her father did. Welcome to the channel, lovelies. Now, here's to gathering 1,000 of our forbidden story lovers, souls who crave the kind of romance that defies all rules, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing and believing in this channel enough to help us reach 1,000 subscribers. If you're just joining, hit that subscribe button and stay with us as we grow even deeper into the shadows of forbidden love. Drop a heart emoji in the comments if you're ready for this journey, and tell me what kind of forbidden romance you want to hear next. I'm here for all of it, and I know you are too. The phone call came at 3 in the morning, the kind that split Mia's world into before and after. Her father was dead, not sick, not in an accident, but murdered in Seoul, 5,000 miles away from their Lagos home. She sat on the edge of her bed in her university apartment, staring at the abstract painting she'd been working on for her final exhibition, and felt nothing. The numbness was a mercy she wouldn't have for long. 2 days later, her stepmother Ngozi sat across from her in the family's sitting room, wringing her hands like she was the one who'd lost something. Mia watched her with the detached interest of someone observing a performance. Her father's funeral portrait hung on the wall behind Ngozi, his smile frozen in better times. "There's no money," Ngozi said, her voice small. "Your father, he borrowed from very dangerous people." Mia leaned forward, her braids falling over her shoulder. "What kind of people?" "Smugglers. Diamond smugglers. He got involved with a Korean syndicate and it went wrong." Ngozi wouldn't meet her eyes. "The debts are massive. They'll come for us, for the children. Then we go to the police." Mia stood, already mentally cataloguing what they could sell, how they could disappear. "No." Ngozi's voice cracked. "There's another way. I've arranged something." The tea tasted bitter. Mia realised this too late, when her limbs grew heavy and the room tilted sideways. She saw Ngozi's face swimming above her, heard her stepmother whisper something that sounded like an apology. Then darkness swallowed everything. She woke to white ceiling, white sheets, white walls that stretched too high and too clean. The air smelled like expensive cologne and leather. Mia tried to sit up and found her wrists bound to the bed frame with silk ties, soft but unbreakable. Panic slammed into her chest. "You're awake!" The voice came from the corner, smooth and cold like river stones. Mia twisted her head and saw him, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black suit that probably cost more than her university tuition. His hair was dark with silver threading through it, too young for grey but wearing it like a crown. His hands, resting on his knees as he sat watching her, were scarred across the knuckles. "Who are you?" Mia demanded, yanking at the restraints. "Where am I?" "Seoul, my home. As for who I am," he stood, moving with predatory grace, "I'm Kang Min Jun, your husband, as of 3 days from now." Mia laughed, the sound sharp and brittle. "You're insane! Your stepmother didn't tell you." He moved closer, stopping at the foot of the bed. "She sold you to clear your father's debts. Quite generous of her, considering you're not even her blood." The words hit like physical blows. Mia stopped laughing. "You're lying." "Am I?" Min Jun pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and held it up. Mia saw Ngozi's face, heard her voice agreeing to terms, signing papers. The phone call was dated 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before her father died. Before, Mia whispered. She arranged this before he even died. Your father was already dead when she called me. She just hadn't told you yet. Min Jun pocketed the phone. She needed time to drug you and get you on a plane. Rage ignited in Mia's chest, burning away the shock. Untie me, so you can attack me. I don't think so. Untie me right now, or I swear I'll scream until your neighbours call the police. Min Jun smiled, and it didn't reach his eyes. My nearest neighbour is 4 floors down and deaf. Scream all you want. But he moved forward and untied her wrists anyway. I'm not interested in keeping you restrained. You'll learn soon enough that you have nowhere to run. The moment her hands were free, Mia grabbed the glass vase from the nightstand and swung it at his head. Min Jun caught her wrist mid-swing, twisting just enough to make her drop the vase. It shattered on the marble floor. He didn't let go, his grip firm but not bruising. Feel better? He asked. Mia tried to wrench free. You killed my father. His expression didn't change. Yes. The admission knocked the air from her lungs. She'd expected denial, excuses, anything but this casual confirmation. You monster. Your father stole from me. Min Jun released her wrist and stepped back. He used my smuggling network to move conflict diamonds, then tried to inform on me to international authorities when he was caught. He thought he could save himself by sacrificing me. He was wrong. Liar. Mia's voice shook. My father was a businessman, not a criminal. Min Jun walked to a desk and pulled out a folder, tossing it onto the bed. See for yourself. Mia's hands trembled as she opened it. Financial records, emails, photographs of her father meeting with men in dark alleys, bank transfers with notes about diamond shipments, a recorded conversation where her father's voice, unmistakable, discussed bribing customs officials. The evidence was overwhelming, damning, impossible to deny. No, she whispered, but the word had no strength behind it. Your father was desperate. Debt makes people do terrible things. Min Jun's voice held no sympathy. He gambled on the wrong solution and lost, but I'm a reasonable man. I've agreed to forgive all debts and protect your family, including those half-siblings your stepmother cares so much about. Mia looked up from the papers, her vision blurred with tears she refused to shed. In exchange for what? Me? A wife for a debt? It's almost biblical. He moved to the window, looking out over Seoul's glittering skyline. We'll marry in 1 week. You'll have everything you need, live in luxury, want for nothing. Except my freedom. Mia stood on shaking legs. Except my choice. Freedom is overrated. Most people don't know what to do with it anyway. Min Jun turned back to her. You have a choice right now, actually. Marry me and your family lives. Refuse, and I'll have. Your stepmother and her children eliminated within 48 hours. Your university friends too, if I'm feeling thorough. Mia felt the room spin. You'd kill children. I've killed for less. His voice was matter-of-fact, like discussing the weather. But I'd prefer not to. It's messy and draws unwanted attention. So choose wisely, Mia Okafor. Be my wife, or be responsible for your family's massacre. She wanted to spit in his face, to scream, to tear him apart with her bare hands. Instead, she straightened her spine and met his eyes with all the defiance she could gather. If I marry you, you'll never touch me. You'll never have anything real from me. I'll hate you every single day until one of us dies. Min Jun's smile returned, colder than before. Hate is still a feeling. I'll take what I can get. The week passed in a blur of preparations Mia refused to participate in. Seamstresses came to measure her for a wedding dress. She stood like a statue and didn't speak. A makeup. Artists tried to discuss looks for the ceremony. Mia stared through her until the woman left uncomfortable and confused. Min Jun's assistant, a nervous man named Chen, attempted to teach her basic Korean phrases. Mia learned them only because knowing the language of her prison might help her escape it. The wedding took place in a private hall, attended by Min Jun's associates and no one who cared about Mia. She wore the white hanbok they'd prepared, knowing full well that white was the colour of Korean funerals. If Min Jun noticed the insult, he didn't show it. He stood at the altar in traditional garb, looking every inch the powerful crime lord he was. When the officiant asked Mia to bow, she remained standing. Min Jun's men shifted, hands moving toward weapons. Chen whispered frantically in Korean. Still, Mia didn't move. Bow, Min Jun said quietly, or I will make a phone call to Lagos. Mia bowed, hating herself for it, hating him more. The vows came next. She stood silent as Min. Jun spoke his in Korean, his voice steady and sure. When it was her turn, she said nothing. The officiant looked panicked. Min Jun's jaw tightened. Someone in the back of the room pulled out a phone. I do, Mia said, finally, her voice clear and strong. Then she added, I will hate you until my last breath. Min Jun stepped closer, took her hand, and slipped a ring onto her finger. It was platinum and diamonds, beautiful and cold. Hate is still a feeling, he repeated. I'll take what I can get. The reception was torture. Men in expensive suits congratulated Min Jun, eyed Mia like she was an exotic acquisition, made comments in Korean that she was starting to understand. One man, drunk and bold, said something about her skin being like chocolate. Another laughed about how different their children would look. Min Jun's hand landed on the drunk man's shoulder. Apologize to my wife. The room went silent. The man paled. It was just a joke. Apologize? Min Jun's voice dropped to a register that promised violence. The man turned to Mia and bowed so low his forehead nearly touched his knees. Forgive me, Mrs. Kang. Mia said nothing, but she felt Min Jun's eyes on her, waiting for something she wouldn't give him. Gratitude, maybe. Recognition that he'd defended her. She turned away and walked to the bar, ignoring how the crowd parted around her like she carried a disease. That night, back at the penthouse, Mia dragged furniture in front of the bedroom door. A chair, a dresser, the small decorative table. She piled it high until the door couldn't open more than a crack. Then she sat on the bed, still in her wedding handbook, and waited. Min Jun tried the door once. It didn't budge. She heard him sigh, then his footsteps retreating down the hall. No threats, no demands, just silence. Mia sat there until dawn, unable to sleep, unwilling to let her guard down. Morning came grey and cold. Mia heard movement in the apartment, smelled coffee brewing. She moved the furniture aside and opened the door carefully. Min Jun sat at the dining table in casual clothes, reading something on a tablet. He didn't look up when she entered. There's breakfast, he said, gesturing to covered dishes on the counter. Mia took a plate, filled it, and sat as far from him as possible. They ate in silence for 5 minutes before he finally spoke. I don't force women into my bed. His voice was conversational, like discussing the weather. When you come to me, it will be your choice. But you are my wife, and you will act like it in public. Smile when necessary, stand beside me when required, and don't embarrass me in front of my associates. Mia picked up her plate and threw it at his head. He ducked, and it shattered against the wall behind him, leaving a streak of eggs and rice sliding down the expensive wallpaper. I'm your prisoner, not your wife, she said. Min Jun wiped a spot of food from his shirt, his expression unchanged. You're both. Get used to it. The first month was a war of attrition. Mia refused to wear the clothes Min Jun bought, cycling through the same 3 outfits until they started to fray. She attempted to escape twice, getting as far as the building lobby before his men, who watched her every move, gently but firmly escorted her back upstairs. She called the Nigerian embassy, claiming she was being held against her will. 2 days later, an official called back to say they'd investigated and found no evidence of wrongdoing. She could hear Min Jun's influence in every word. In her rage, she destroyed a painting in the living room, a traditional Korean piece that probably cost a fortune. Min Jun came home to find her standing over the shredded canvas, breathing hard. "Feel better?" he asked, the same question as the first day. "No," she admitted. "Then keep going. Destroy it all if you need to." He walked past her to his office. "Just know that eventually you'll run out of things to break except yourself." The words haunted her more than any threat could. On the 30th day, a woman arrived at the penthouse. She was Korean, late 20s, with the lean build of a fighter and a scar running through her left eyebrow. She dropped a gym bag on the floor and looked Mia up and down. "I'm Ji-woo," she said in accented English. "I'm here to teach you how to not die." "Excuse me?" Mia crossed her arms. "You're in a world where being weak gets you killed. Your husband has enemies. Some of them will come for you to hurt him. Learn to protect yourself or die stupidly. Your choice." Ji-woo unzipped the bag and pulled out training gloves. "We start now." Mia wanted to refuse, but something in Ji-woo's blunt honesty resonated. She took the gloves. "Fine." The training was brutal. Ji-woo didn't coddle or go easy. Every punch Mia threw, she imagined Min Jun's face. Every kick carried her rage. Ji-woo praised her anger, told her to channel it, to make it a weapon. For the first time since arriving in Seoul, Mia felt something other than helpless. Weeks blurred into months. Mia learned Korean faster than her tutor expected, driven by the need to understand the conversations happening around her. She learned to fight, to anticipate attacks, to find exits in any room. She learned the rhythms of the penthouse, Min Jun's schedule, the patterns of his guards. She also learned, against her will, small things about her husband. He worked 18-hour days. He drank his coffee black and bitter. He had nightmares sometimes. She could hear him through the walls. He never raised his voice, even when his men failed him, which made his displeasure more terrifying. People feared him not because he was loud, but because he was precise. 3 months after the wedding, Mia was studying Korean in the library when she heard voices from Min Jun's office. The door was slightly open. She moved closer, listening. "The girl is 16, someone said in Korean. "Kim's daughter. She knows too much." "Then make it look like an accident," another voice replied, quietly. Mia's blood ran cold. They were planning to kill a child. Without thinking, she burst through the office door. 4 men stood around Min Jun's desk, all turning to stare at her. Min Jun sat behind the desk, his expression unreadable. "Don't," Mia said, her Korean stumbling but understandable. "Please don't kill her." The room went silent. One of the men laughed. "The African girl speaks now." Min Jun raised a hand, silencing him. "Why do you care? She's 16, a child." Mia moved closer, her heart pounding. "Whatever her father did, she's not responsible. She's a witness." Min Jun's voice was flat. "Witnesses are liabilities. Then let her run. Let her disappear." Mia stopped in front of his desk, ignoring the other men. "Let her live." Min Jun studied her for a long moment, his dark eyes giving nothing away. Then he turned to his men. "Cancel it. Find another solution." The men exchanged glances but didn't argue. They filed out, leaving Mia alone with Min Jun. She stood there, trembling with adrenaline and confusion. "Why?" she asked. "Why did you listen to me?" Min Jun stood and walked around the desk, stopping close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. Because you asked, that's what wives do. They make their husbands better men. He paused. Or, at least, they try. Mia's throat tightened. This glimpse of humanity was more disturbing than any threat. It suggested he was more than the monster she needed him to be. It complicated everything. Don't, she whispered. Don't make me see you as human. Too late. Min Jun reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he tucked a loose braid behind her ear. You already do. Mia jerked back, her pulse racing for reasons she didn't want to examine. She turned and fled to her room, locking the door behind her. But that night, for the first time since arriving in Seoul, she didn't barricade it with furniture. She told herself it didn't mean anything, but the silk restraints on her wrists that first day had been a physical prison. This was something far more dangerous. This was the slow erosion of her certainty, the terrible possibility that nothing was as simple as she needed it to be. The charity gala sparkled with old money and new blood, crystal chandeliers casting shadows over Seoul's most dangerous players dressed in their finest. Mia stood beside Min Jun in an emerald silk gown that made her skin glow like burnished gold. She'd learned to move through these events like a dancer, graceful and watchful. 4 months of marriage had taught her that survival meant adaptation. Park Dae-young approached with a smirk that made Mia's skin crawl. He was shorter than Min Jun, stockier, with eyes like a rat. His reputation preceded him, whispers of brutality that made even hardened criminals uncomfortable. He stopped too close to Mia, invading her space deliberately. Min Jun, I see you've brought your exotic pet, he said in Korean, his voice loud enough to carry. Does she do tricks? The conversations around them died. Min Jun's hand tightened on his glass, his knuckles white. Before he could move, Mia stepped forward and smiled sweetly at Park Dae-young. Better to be exotic than to be a small man compensating with a big mouth, she said in flawless Korean. The silence stretched like pulled taffy. Then someone laughed, a sharp bark of surprise. The laughter spread, infecting the crowd. Park Dae-young's face turned purple, his mouth working soundlessly. Min Jun's hand found the small of Mia's back, warm and possessive. My wife is not to be underestimated, he said, his voice carrying pride that made something flutter dangerously in Mia's chest. Perhaps you should remember that before speaking again. Park Dae-young retreated, his humiliation complete. Min Jun guided Mia away, his hand never leaving her back. When they reached a quiet corner, he turned to her with an expression she couldn't quite read. You've been learning Korean, he said. You sound surprised. Mia accepted a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. Did you think I'd stay helpless forever? I thought you were learning for escape. His eyes searched hers. But you used it to defend my honor. I defended myself, Mia corrected. But the words felt hollow. She'd defended them both, and they both knew it. Min Jun leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. Either way, you were magnificent. Mia's pulse jumped traitorously. She stepped back, needing distance. Don't read too much into it. I just hate being disrespected more than I hate you. His smile suggested he didn't believe her. The worst part was, Mia wasn't sure she believed herself anymore. The penthouse felt different when Min Jun travelled for business, emptier, quieter, like a held breath. Mia told herself she didn't miss his presence, the way he filled a room without trying. She was lying, but some lies were necessary for survival. She sat at his desk in the office he'd forbidden her to enter, but never actually locked. 5 months of watching, learning, memorizing passwords. 5 months of waiting for this opportunity. The The computer hummed to life under her fingers, and Mia began to dig. Her father's file was massive, years of documentation. She read through transactions, watched surveillance footage, traced money through accounts in 3 continents. With each piece of evidence, her stomach twisted tighter. Money laundering for terrorist cells, arms deals disguised as legitimate shipping, her father's signature on documents that funded violence across Africa and the Middle East. The final video nearly broke her. Her father, 3 weeks before his death, meeting with Min Jun's rivals. His voice clear on the recording as he offered to testify against Min Jun, to provide evidence that would destroy him, all in exchange for his own protection and profit. Mia pushed back from the desk, her hands shaking. The man in that video wasn't the father who'd taught her to paint, who'd called her his little warrior princess. This was a stranger wearing her father's face, making deals that got people killed. Find what you were looking for. Mia spun. Min Jun stood in the doorway, still in his travel clothes, watching her with an expression that held no anger, only patience. Did you know I would find this? Her voice cracked. I've been waiting for you to look. He moved into the room slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. I could have told you, but you needed to discover it yourself. Truth means nothing if someone else hands it to you. Mia stood on shaking legs. He was going to destroy you to save himself. Yes. He funded terrorists, got innocent people killed. Yes. You executed a traitor, not an innocent man. The words tasted like ash. Min Jun stopped a few feet away. Does that make you feel better or worse? Both. Neither. I don't know. Mia wrapped her arms around herself. I've been hating you for killing the man I thought he was, but that man never existed, did he? Perhaps he did once. Desperation changes people. Min Jun's voice held something almost like sympathy. Your father made terrible choices, but he did love you. Both things can be true. Mia felt tears threatening and blinked them back furiously. She wouldn't cry, not here, not in front of him, but her throat ached with the effort of holding everything in. I don't know who I am anymore, she whispered. Everything I believed was a lie. You're Mia Kang, Min Jun said quietly. Strong, fierce, unbreakable. That hasn't changed. The name, his name attached to hers, felt less like a brand and more like an anchor. Mia hated that. Hated that she was starting to need this man who'd forced her into this life. I should still hate you, she said. You probably should. He took one step closer. But I'm starting to think you don't. Not completely. Don't flatter yourself. I'm not. I'm observing. Another step. You could have left the security on my computer intact. You didn't. You could have used what you found as a weapon against me. You didn't. You're here because some part of you wanted the truth more than you wanted revenge. Mia wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. He was right, and they both knew it. Get out, she said instead. I need to think. Min Jun nodded and left without argument. Alone again, Mia sank into his chair and let herself feel the weight of everything she'd lost and everything she was terrified of gaining. The attack came on a Tuesday night, 3 weeks after Mia's discovery. Min Jun was in Busan negotiating territory disputes, his security lighter than usual around the penthouse. Mia was practicing her Korean conjugations in the living room when the lights cut out. She dropped to the floor instantly. Muscle memory from Jiwoo's training taking over. The emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in dim red. Footsteps, multiple sets, moving through the apartment. Male voices speaking in harsh whispers. Mia crawled to the kitchen, her heart hammering. The knife block sat on the counter. She grabbed the largest blade just as a figure rounded the corner. He wore all black, face covered, gun in hand. His mistake was hesitating, surprised to see her armed. Mia didn't hesitate. She launched herself forward, driving the knife into his shoulder. Before he could raise the gun, he screamed and dropped the weapon. She kicked it away and hit him in the throat with her elbow, a move Ji-woo had drilled into her 1,000 times. He went down, choking. "She's here," someone shouted in Korean. "Park wants her alive." Park Dae-young, the man she'd humiliated. This was retaliation. Mia grabbed the fallen gun and ran for the panic room Min Jun had shown her on her first day. She'd never thought she'd actually need it. 2 more men appeared, blocking her path. Mia fired, without thinking, the recoil nearly breaking her wrist. 1 man fell, clutching his leg. The other charged. She dodged, used his momentum against him, slammed him into the wall. He grabbed her hair and yanked her back. Pain exploded across her scalp. Training took over. Mia twisted, brought her knee up into his groin, raked her nails across his face when he doubled over. He released her hair and she ran, burst through the panic room door and slammed it shut. The locks engaged with heavy thuds. Sirens wailed in the distance. Min Jun's security company, finally responding to the breach. Mia slid down the reinforced door, the gun still clutched in her shaking hands. Blood spattered her clothes, some hers from where someone had caught her with a knife, most belonging to the men she'd fought. She'd killed someone. The thought circled in her head, refusing to land. She'd taken a life to save her own. The sounds of fighting filtered through the door, gunshots, shouting, then silence. Mia waited, counting her heartbeats, trying to remember how to breathe. "Mia," Min Jun's voice, tight with something that sounded like fear. "Mia, open the door!" She stood on shaking legs and disengaged the locks. The door swung open, and Min Jun stood there, his suit rumpled, blood on his knuckles, his eyes wild. He took in her appearance, the blood, the gun, the cut on her arm, and something in his expression cracked. He pulled her against him, hard enough to hurt, 1 hand cradling the back of her head. Mia felt his heart racing against her cheek, matching the frantic rhythm of her own. "You're alive," he said into her hair. "You're alive." "I killed someone." Mia's voice sounded small and far away. "There was so much blood." I know. Min Jun pulled back just enough to look at her face. "You did what you had to do. You survived. You're extraordinary, Mia, fierce, unbreakable." The adrenaline drained from her system all at once, leaving her hollow and shaking. Mia shoved at his chest, sudden rage flooding through her. "This is your fault. You put me in danger by marrying me. Park came here because I humiliated him, because I'm your wife. I could have died because of you." "I know." Min Jun didn't defend himself, just let her hit him, absorbing her fury. "You made me a target. You brought this violence into my life." Tears finally came, hot and furious. "I hate you. I hate this. I hate that I had to kill someone to survive in your world." "I know." His hands found her shoulders, gentle but firm. "You're right. This is my fault, all of it. But you're here. You're alive, and I will burn down anyone who tries to hurt you again." "That doesn't fix it," Mia sobbed. "That doesn't make it okay. Nothing makes it okay." Min Jun pulled her back against him, and this time Mia didn't fight it. "But you're here. You're breathing. Focus on that." She cried into his chest, 5 months of held-back tears, finally breaking free. Min Jun held her through it, murmuring in Korean and broken Yoruba, words of comfort she barely understood but felt in her bones. When the tears finally stopped, she felt scraped clean and exhausted. "I need to shower," she whispered. "I need to get this blood off. I'll help you." He guided her to the bathroom, started the water, helped her out of her ruined clothes with careful, clinical movements. Nothing sexual, just care. He washed the blood from her skin, cleaned the cut on her arm and bandaged it, dried her hair with gentle hands. That night, Mia didn't go to her room. She followed Min Jun to his, crawled into his bed still wearing his shirt, and let him hold her. No barriers, no furniture blocking doors, just two people who'd survived violence together. "I don't want to need you," she said into the darkness. "I know." His arms tightened around her. "But you do anyway." "Yes," Mia admitted. "God help me, I do." They lay there in silence, the walls between them reduced to rubble. Outside, Seoul glittered with indifferent beauty. Inside, something fundamental had shifted. Mia wasn't sure if it was breaking or healing, but she knew nothing would be the same again. The next morning, Mia called Nigeria. Ngozi answered on the third ring, her voice cautious. "Mia, how are you?" "I know everything." Mia kept her voice flat, emotionless. "About father, about what he really did." Silence stretched. Then, "I see. Did you know? When you sold me, did you know he was laundering money for terrorists, that he got people killed?" "Yes." Ngozi's voice held no shame. "I knew." Mia's grip tightened on the phone. "And you still blamed Min Jun, still let me believe my father was innocent." "Your father was my husband. What was I supposed to do, tell his daughter he was a monster?" Ngozi laughed, bitter and hard. "I did what I had to do to protect my children, my real children." "I'm his child too," Mia said quietly. "You were his first wife's child. I have my own to think about." Ngozi's voice turned hard. "I'm not sorry I traded you for their safety. I'd do it again." Something cold and final settled in Mia's chest. "Then we have nothing more to say to each other. Don't contact me again. You're dead to me." She hung up before Ngozi could respond. Min Jun had been standing in the doorway, listening. He moved to sit beside her. "You have no family in Nigeria anymore," he said. "I know, but you have me." He took her hand carefully, like she might pull away. "For whatever that's worth." Mia looked at their joined hands, her dark skin against his lighter tone, the contrast that had sparked so much hatred and was now becoming something else entirely. "It's worth something. I'm not sure what yet, but something. I'll take it." Min Jun brought her hand to his lips, pressed a kiss to her knuckles. "I'll take whatever you can give me." Mia leaned her head on his shoulder, feeling untethered and terrified and somehow, impossibly, safe. The man who'd killed. Her father was becoming the only solid thing in her world. She should hate the irony. Instead, she just held his hand tighter and let herself, for the first time, lean into the fall. 6 months into their marriage, Min Jun came home early with an envelope. Mia was painting in the sunroom he'd converted into her studio, lost in the rhythm of brushstrokes. She'd been working on a piece that blended Korean landscapes with African patterns, finding beauty in the collision of her two worlds. "We need to talk," he said. Mia set down her brush, tension coiling in her stomach. Those words never meant anything good. Min Jun sat across from her and placed the envelope on the table between them. "What's this?" she asked. "Your freedom." He pushed it toward her. "New identity, bank account in London with enough money to live comfortably, university enrollment, everything you need to start over, completely untraceable." Mia stared at the envelope like it might explode. "I don't understand." "I'm giving you a choice." Min Jun's voice was steady, but something in his eyes looked vulnerable. "You can leave. I won't stop you. I won't look for you. You'll be free of me, of this life, of everything." "Why?" Mia's hands trembled. "Why would you do this?" "Because I don't want you to stay, because you have to." He leaned forward, his gaze intense. I want you to stay because you choose to. Everything until now has been forced. The marriage, this life, even the feelings growing between us happened under duress. I need to know if you'd choose me without the chains." Mia picked up the envelope, felt its weight. Everything she'd dreamed about for 6 months, handed to her freely. She could walk away, start over, pretend none of this ever happened. The temptation burned. "If I leave," she said slowly, "what happens to you?" "I continue as I was before you." Min Jun's expression gave nothing away. "Alone. But I've always been alone. And if I stay, then I know it's real. Whatever this is. Between us, it's your choice." Mia clutched the envelope to her chest. "I need time. Take all you need." Min Jun stood and walked to the door, pausing before he left. "Whatever you decide, Mia, you gave me something I didn't know I needed. Thank you for that." 3 days felt like 3 years. Mia walked Seoul's streets, the envelope heavy in her bag. She could go anywhere, be anyone. London beckoned with its promise of anonymity and fresh starts. She imagined galleries and art schools, a quiet life without blood and violence. But she also thought about Min Jun's rare smiles, the way he defended her without hesitation, how he held her after the attack like she was something precious. She thought about Jiwoo's friendship, her growing Korean fluency, the way Seoul had started feeling less like a prison and more like possibility. On the 3rd night, Mia walked into Min Jun's office, where he sat working late. He looked up, his expression carefully neutral, but she saw the tension in his shoulders. "I'm staying," she said. His pen stilled. "You're sure?" "Not because I forgive everything, not because I've forgotten how this started." Mia moved closer, her heart racing. "But because I choose this. I choose you. Not the man who forced me here, but the man you've become with me, the man I've become with you." Min Jun stood slowly, like sudden movements might shatter the moment. "You can still change your mind. Tomorrow, next week, next year. That envelope stays valid." "I don't want it." Mia took his hand. "I want this. Messy and complicated and real. I want you." He pulled her close, buried his face in her neck. She felt him trembling, this powerful man undone by her choice. "I don't deserve you," he whispered. "Probably not." Mia tilted his face up to hers. "But you're mine anyway." She kissed him, and it was nothing like the brief, obligatory kiss at their first wedding. This was hunger and heat. 6 months of tension finally breaking. Min Jun responded with desperate intensity, his hands tangling in her braids, pulling her impossibly closer. "Come with me," Mia said against his mouth. She led him to his bedroom, the room she'd only entered once before in fear. Tonight, she entered in choice. Min Jun followed, his eyes dark with want and wonder. When she began unbuttoning her shirt, his hands covered hers. "Are you certain?" he asked. "We don't have to rush. 6 months isn't rushing." Mia smiled. "I'm certain." Their first time was intense and passionate. Nothing held back. Min Jun worshipped her body with reverent touches, whispering in Yoruba words she'd taught him. "You are beautiful. You are strong. You are my equal." Mia responded in Korean, her accent still imperfect, but the meaning clear. "I am yours, but you are also mine." Afterward, they lay tangled together, skin to skin, hearts still racing. Min Jun traced patterns on her back, following the curve of her spine. "I never thought I'd have this," he said quietly. "Someone who sees what I am and stays anyway. I never thought I'd want it." Mia pressed a kiss to his chest, over his heart. "But here we are." They made love again, slower this time, learning each other's rhythms. When Mia finally fell asleep in his arms, she felt something she hadn't felt since leaving Nigeria. She felt home. University became Mia's sanctuary. She enrolled in Seoul National University's art program, her Afro-Asian fusion work drawing attention from professors and students alike. Her pieces blended traditional Korean techniques with African symbolism, creating something entirely new. A gallery in Gangnam offered her a show. Within 3 months, Min Jun attended the opening in a sharp suit, pride evident on his face as critics praised her work. He started bringing her to business meetings, introducing her as his partner. Her outsider perspective helped him see angles others missed, identify threats his closest advisors overlooked. "You're wasted as just my wife," he told her, after she'd helped him avoid a disastrous merger. "You should be running your own empire." "One empire in the family is enough," Mia laughed. "But I'll keep you from making stupid decisions." Their life found a rhythm, violent business balanced by quiet domesticity. Mia painted, Min Jun strategized, and together they built something neither had planned, but both needed. 1 year into their marriage, Mia woke up nauseous and exhausted. The pregnancy test confirmed what her body already knew. She sat on the bathroom floor, staring at the positive result, terror washing over her. Bringing a child into Min Jun's world, into this violence, felt cruel. Min Jun found her there, still holding the test. He knelt beside her, his expression unreadable. "A baby," he said finally. "I'm scared." Mia's voice broke. "What kind of life can we give a child? Your enemies? The danger? Everything." Min Jun took her hands. "Then I change everything. I've been considering legitimizing the businesses, stepping back from the violent operations. This makes the decision easy." His voice turned fierce. "Our child will know their father, not bury him. I promise you that." True to his word, Min Jun began the slow process of transformation. Legitimate investments, legal businesses, distancing from the bloodiest aspects of his empire. It wasn't overnight, and it wasn't clean, but he pursued it with the same intensity he'd pursued everything else. On their 2nd anniversary, they married again. This time in Lagos, in a traditional Nigerian ceremony that Mia organized with joy instead of grief. Min Jun wore full Yoruba attire, the white agbada making him look regal. He spoke his vows in Yoruba, words Mia had taught him, promising to honor her, protect her, choose her every day. Mia wore gold that caught the sunlight, danced with abandon, laughed with friends she'd reconnected with. The contrast to their first wedding was complete. Where that had been death and obligation, this was life and choice. Their daughter arrived 8 months later, screaming her way into the world with her mother's fire. She had Mia's dark skin and Min Jun's sharp eyes, beautiful in a way that made both parents cry. Min Jun held her with shaking hands, this tiny person who'd unmade him completely. "Amara Haye Jin," he said, testing the name. "Grace and wisdom. She'll need both." Tears tracked down his face, the first Mia had ever seen from him. "I took your father from you," he said to Mia, "but I will give our daughter everything I failed to give anyone else. Honor, protection, and choice. Always choice." Mia touched his face, wiping away tears. "You'll give her a father who chose to be better. That's everything." 5 years later, Mia and Min Jun stood on their penthouse balcony, watching Amara chase her baby brother around the living room. The Seoul skyline glittered behind them, familiar now, home. Mia's artwork hung in galleries across Asia and Africa, her name recognized internationally. Min Jun's empire was mostly legitimate, his reputation shifting from feared to respected. "You were my father's killer," Mia said quietly. "You forced me into this marriage. I hated you with everything I had. And now?" Min Jun pulled her closer. "Now, you're the man who gave me strength when I thought I had none." Mia leaned into him, who respected my rage and waited for my choice, who became worthy of the love I tried so hard not to feel. She touched his face, the gesture now familiar and precious. I don't forgive you for killing my father. I don't know if I ever will completely, but I choose you every day anyway. That's real love. Complicated, painful, and real. Min Jun kissed her, soft and deep, and I choose to be worthy of you every day. That's my redemption. Ioma Appa, Amara called, switching between Korean and English with her brother babbling in her arms. How did you fall in love? Mia and Min Jun looked at each other, years of history passing between them in a glance. Mia smiled, the expression genuine and warm. That's a story for when you're older, she said, moving to take her son from Amara's arms. But I'll tell you this, sometimes the worst beginnings lead to the most unexpected blessings. Min Jun wrapped his arms around his family, this impossible constellation he'd never thought to want. Amara chattered about her day, her brother grabbed at his father's hair, and Mia leaned into Min Jun's side like she belonged there. Because she did. They all did. The story that began in blood and chains had transformed into something neither could have predicted. Not perfect, never simple, but theirs. Built on choice, strengthened by truth, sustained by love that grew in the darkest soil and bloomed anyway. Outside, soul pulsed with life. Inside, a family born from tragedy found their happy ending, complicated and painful and gloriously, impossibly real. And that's where Mia and Min Jun's story ends, lovelies. From hatred to choice, from chains to freedom, from forced marriage to real love. Sometimes the most beautiful love stories are the ones that start in the darkest places. If this story made you feel something, if you were rooting for them despite everything, then I did my job. Before you go, make sure you're subscribed because we have so many more forbidden romances coming your way. Stories that will make you swoon, make you angry, make you believe in love, even when it seems impossible. Drop a comment telling me what you thought about Mia and Min Jun. Did you forgive him? Would you have stayed? I want to hear all your thoughts. Like this video if you loved it. Share it with your friends who are obsessed with dark romance like we are. And I'll see you in the next story. Until then, keep believing in love that breaks all the rules. Bye, lovelies.